As long as the automotive division of Volvo is concerned, there is only one Volvo V8 the world knows, besides the B36, a 4.4-liter Japanese-made engine. It is not a common type of a V8. It had to be a narrow-angle unit for perfect fitment, and later found a different application. Let me take you on tour of the development and story of the Volvo B8 444S. It is a public secret that this power plant was developed and manufactured by the Japanese. The design originates from Sweden, but it was Yamaha who put it into a physical shape. The main objective was a 60-degree bang angle for the smallest possible footprint, suitable for a transverse engine platform where normally a 5-cylinder would sit in. There was no place for wider arrangement, which caused added complexity, but more on that later. The first bird was the XC90 from 2005, and a year later, also the second-gen S80. Some may raise a question, as Yamaha already made a 60-degree V8 not a long time ago, but all three companies, Volvo, Yamaha and Ford, denied any similarities in the design. It was an open-deck die-cast block versus a closed-deck sand-cast 3.4 show unit, although bore spacing, stroke length, bearing journal diameter and a block height were interestingly the same. The show engine was mostly derived from the Duratec V6 platform, whereas the Volvo motor was a clean-sheet design. The B8 444S has got a logical meaning behind it. It was a gasoline, in Swedish benzene engine using 8 cylinders, a 4.4 liter of engine displacement capped by a 4 valves per cylinder head. The S letter stands for section, as it was naturally aspirated only. Both the engine block and cylinder head were cast from aluminium using iron sleeves. All 32 valves were operated by shimless tappets via chain-driven camshafts. The intake ones were crankshaft-driven, while the exhaust cams used smaller chains turned from the intake cams. It was port-injected only with 315 horsepower tops. Some sources also mention a variable intake manifold. Besides the 60-degree angle, there are two things different compared to any other V8. A normal crossplane 8-banger fires every 90 degrees of crankshaft revolution, but this one required split crankpins to achieve a smooth run, and a balancing shaft to help even more. This shaft is also the Achilles heel of the engine, more specifically its bearing until a mid-2005 revision. It could wear out, throw off the balancing shaft, also timing and result in a piston-to-valve contact. Because of that, it is advised not to wash the engine a wet way to prevent water from collecting in the shaft's valley. A later update of the engine received a drain hole and a new type of bearing. Luckily, the S80 does not share this problem. A failing bearing will rattle, so keep your ears open. To fix it, at least one cylinder head needs to come off to allow for a bearing replacement, and if it's too late, the whole engine removal is required. Either way, it is not a cheap repair, and be advised if the bearing issue was already solved before an automobile purchase. Other than that, it is a pretty sound engine as far as reliability is concerned. Although the V8 was demised as a Volvo engine in 2010, the Japanese found it a new use. The engine was tilted longitudinally, belt-driven, with the small chains bathed in the sump, and placed into a boat. The piston diameter remained the same and the stroke was increased by 16.5 mm. The airflow was reversed, with the intake outside and exhaust inside the V, helping with even smaller packaging. Furthermore, the compression ratio was decreased, reducing a high octane requirement, lowering the engine stress, providing circa the same power as the Volvo unit, 300 to 350 horsepower from a 5.3 liter. As time went by, a newer 5.6 liter received various improvements. The compression ratio was increased back again, up to 12.2 to 1. The reason was a direct injection, which, alongside a bore width increase of 2 mm, raised power up to 425 horsepower. Exhaust gases exit above a cavitation plate until 2500 rpm, after which they are routed through the propeller hub, allegedly maximizing the thrust. This 5.6 makes 542 Nm of torque already from 2000 rpm, and it does not skip a beat until 6000 revs. Yes, the Volvo V8 is an exceptional engine with various interesting features, and most importantly, an extraordinary and deep soundtrack. These cars were all-wheel drive as standard, so there is some potential for fun in them. Besides, this engine also found its way into a noble M600 paired to twin turbos, and a V8 supercar using a 5-liter ITB-fed flat-plane crankshaft engine as the cherry on the cake.